All right, so today we are going to talk about one that I've been saying that we're going to talk about for a little bit, but I haven't gotten to just quite yet. But I just figured, why the hell not? Why not do it today? I've been on a Fulci kick, kinda. So I watched this one not too long ago, so I figured I'd go ahead and bring it up now. So the movie I'm talking about today is going to be Lucio Fulci's Zombie 2. So if you're a hardcore horror fan and you're watching this review, you may already know kind of what's going on, behind the scenes with this movie, or why it's called Zombie 2, and why we're talking about a sequel instead of the first one. Well, I will explain that just briefly. So this movie was technically, actually, let me start here. So everyone is familiar with George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. I believe that he kind of, Dario Argento, which I love Dario Argento. I can't remember if he was a script consultant or exactly what he was, but he kind of worked with George Romero on Dawn of the Dead, on his theatrical release of it, and the director's cut and whatnot. Well, Dario Argento went back and he basically released his own cut, the European cut, which is Zombie. Zombi, which is just Dawn of the Dead. So, if you were to watch this, it is just George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. It is cut in some places. There are some some things that are cut and moved around, and the music is a little bit different. So we do get to keep the classic Goblin music all throughout this one, which I really love. I love Goblin as a band, and I think their music, their score for this movie was just friggin' superb. I love it. And this is usually the version that I will watch if I'm watching either or. So Zombie was released, and Lucio Fulci, from what I understand, he really liked that movie, so he wanted to kind of make a sequel to it. And it has nothing really to do at all with Dawn of the Dead, besides the fact that it's about zombies. So he created Zombie 2. So Zombie 2 came out, of course, in Europe, and it was released in the United States because this one was Dawn of the Dead in the United States. They released it as Zombie. So these are both the exact same film. They are just, like I said, this was released in Europe, and this one was released in Europe. This is the American release. As far as I'm aware, they're identical. I've watched both of these. There's nothing different. This actually DVD copy, a good friend of mine gave me. He wrote in Sharpie a 2 over this, which there's still a tiny mark there, but it was on there for so long. I rubbed it one day and it came off, and it was written on the side too. From when he explained it to me, there's still a tiny little dot on there. So I didn't clean it; it just came off. If you're watching this, he knows who he is. But this is the 25th anniversary release by Shriek Show. I got this one really cheap at like Half Price Books, and then this is the Blue Underground version. This is the one that he gifted to me, and then he also gave me this one, like I said, which is Zombie, the European cut. So this is just Dawn of the Dead, and technically Zombie 2 is technically a sequel to this, just to get technical. So you're all caught up. There was also some sequels to Zombie 2. There's Zombie 3, 4, and Zombie 5, which some of them are, a couple of them are all right. One of them is not so good. They're all just, they're all right. They're not terrible. We'll talk about them one day, but they're just in this Zombie 4-pack, DVD. I won that in an auction on eBay a while ago. But anyway, so this movie came out in 1979. Like I said, it was directed by Lucio Fulci, and it was written by Eliza Briganti, I believe is how you say that. It stars Tisa Farrow, Ian McCullough, Richard Johnson, and Al Cliver. So this movie basically starts out, it's in New York, and essentially a fishing boat kind of rolls up into the harbor, and I guess the Coast Guard or the police or whoever, they go and they investigate this boat, and a zombie comes out and kills him. So they're like, oh shit, what's going on? So they contact the daughter of, who owns this boat. Her father owned this boat. And they are like, what's going on? Does this have anything to do with your father? Blah, 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 blah. And she has no idea, so they start to investigate, her and this other guy. And they start to really kind of investigate really what's going on. They go back to where her father was, which I believe he was on one of the, the Caribbean islands somewhere. So they decide to go back there and kind of find out what happened. And when they get there, they pretty much find this small little village, it is just destroyed, by zombies. Everyone there is living dead, and we kind of get to see what happens there, and just that's kind of what kind of goes on. And a minor spoiler, I will spoil this movie, just because I'm sure almost everyone has seen it by this point. But I think it acts like a prequel to Dawn of the Dead, because I guess it's showing how the Dawn of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead, and all the I guess it serves as a prequel to that, just because of how it ends. I won't tell exactly what happens, but that's how I look at this movie, as instead of a sequel to Dawn of the Dead, it's more of a prequel. But that's if you relate them. But again, they have nothing to do with each other. They are not related in any way, shape, or form. It's more of like a spiritual sequel to that movie. They just share the same title, which I think is really cool. I really like that, and I that's kind of what drew me to this movie, because I kept hearing everybody talk about Zombie 2, and I knew there was a zombie, and so I didn't really know. I didn't know what the deal was. I didn't get it until it was finally sat down and explained to me, and then and now I understand. But this movie, like I said, it is a Lucio Fulci movie, so you get some excellent gore. He does some great zombies. I love Lucio Fulci's zombies. Some of my favorite zombies of all time. Probably the next behind George A. Romero, if not a little bit. I mean, to be honest with you, again, this might be sacrilegious, but I may like Lucio Fulci's zombies a little bit more than George A. Romero's zombies, because they're just grotesque looking, and they're just nasty. They are a little bit slower, of course, and they're like your stereotypical kind of voodoo zombie, but they're still kind of they're creepy. I mean, they look disturbing. There's they've got worms falling out of their face and maggots crawling all over them, and they're strong, and they're bulletproof. I mean, and of course you get that scene that you get in all classic classic zombie movies, and especially in Lucio Fulci zombie movies, where somebody shoots them like 500 times before they finally shoot them in the head, and usually it's too late. And he has a lot of very theatrical and kind of slow shots. Like there's one shot in this movie where I'm sure if anybody watching it would be like, just move, and you're going to be fine. But again, I think that just kind of adds to it. This movie's really kind of cheesy, and it's so good. The effects, the gore, you get a really good underwater scene in this movie. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. And this movie also has one of the most disturbing scenes. It's right here on the back, right there. I'm not going to spoil exactly what happens, but it kind of shows. That's a little bit of it right there. But I've watched a lot of really nasty movies. Okay, I've seen some terrible, terrible shit. August Underground, a lot of stuff like that, and that stuff bothers me in a different way than like stuff like this. And I will say, in this movie, the eyeball scene, that just ooh man, Lucio Fulci has a thing for eyeballs, and inflicting pain to them, which it really gets me, so that really gets to me, especially the scene in this movie, because I if anybody ever asked me what's the most nasty scene in a movie, or the scene that makes me wince the most, and just shiver and be like, oh my god, it's awful, it's definitely going to be the eyeball scene in this movie, because that is just gnarly. It's crazy. The only other movie recently that I can think of that has made me react in a stronger way like that was in one of the American Guinea Pig movies. I think it was Bloodshot. That one had me and my wife both like, ooh, and we'll talk about those one day too, whenever I do some more extreme horror. I've done a few. But we'll talk about those, like I said, a little bit more. But one of those movies, like I said recently, I watched, and there's not many movies that will do that. There's not much that really scares me or really, or kind of fucks with me, but the eyeball scene in this movie really gets to me. Like it's a hard watch. It's one of those where I don't look away, but I almost want to. And again, if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry if that's a spoiler. I'm not going to tell exactly what happens in it, but it's great. And I love the way that this movie wraps up. I love the setting. I love the look of the zombies. I love the effects. The kills are a lot of fun. The music is great in this movie. It's not done by Goblin. like it was done, in Zombie, but it is still really good music. I don't remember who does it off the top of my head, but it really fits kind of the. It's very just creepy. Like it really fits the whole theme of the movie, and I love the voodoo, kind of the. I think somebody said that they were trying to go back to a traditional kind of zombie story, like with the voodoo cult kind of zombie, kind of aesthetic, and kind of like, I guess, similar to, well, I don't know, I wouldn't, I can't really think of anything to compare it to off the top of my head that would really sound right, but I think that's kind of what they were trying to go back to, is they were trying to make a classic kind of zombie tale, and that really comes across to me. I really kind of feel that, and I really enjoy this movie for that, and it's so much fun. Lucio Fulci is one of my favorite directors. I love most of the movies he's done. We've talked about a few. Excuse me. We talked maybe just one. I think I feel like I've talked about a few Dario Argento ones, but I think I've only talked about one Lucio Fulci movie that I can think of off the top of my head. I'm going to change that, pretty soon for sure. I want to talk about more, but like I said, I've been really wanting to talk about this one for a while. But I'm gonna rate this movie pretty high because, like I said, I really like this. I'm gonna rate it a 4.5 out of 5 because I really dig this movie. It is so fun. I'll watch it at any time of day, anywhere. It is just a great movie. If you're not into Italian horror and dubbing and the old dated effects, it's not gonna be for you. But I do recommend everybody at least check out the eyeball scene and the underwater scene. I'm not going to spoil what happens in it, but if you want to watch it, then just watch it yourself. But I recommend checking out those two scenes because the underwater scene, to me, still to this day is captivating. Like every time it's on screen, I'm just hooked, and I'm watching it and watching the whole scene play out. I can't look away. It's just that's probably my favorite scene of the whole movie. I really enjoy that, and every time I wonder, like I've even watched so much all the behind the scenes stuff, but even still to this day, every time I see it, I'm like, damn, how did they do that? But anyway, I really, it's such a great movie. I highly recommend it if you're into old school kind of zombie movies. You'll really dig this. Definitely check this one out. And if you can, pick up... I remember when this DVD came out, it was really expensive, but I got it super cheap at Half Price Books several years ago. I just happened to find it, and it was brand new. So I was really happy about that. I usually watch the Blue Underground one, but I have watched this one, and it works just fine. But this, like I said, this is the 25th anniversary special edition. I'll pull that out so you can see it. It's got some good special features on it. Not a whole lot, but it's got a few. And I believe Shriek Show released this. Yeah, there's my receipt. And it's 2 discs. And I love the cover. That's the famous zombie from this movie. That you'll see that poster, I guess, just kind of everywhere. And I love this cover too. It's just so. It's basically the same thing, but it's just I like the color of it. It's so pretty. It looks nice. Maybe I'm weird for that. And then this is the Blue Underground one. This is just Zombie. There he is again on the side. But this is a great movie. Great gore. There's a piece of bubble wrap inside of this one because the little peg right there is broken, but I just threw that in there. Get some cool art behind there, and then you get the little Blue Underground catalog, so you can check off how many you got. I've got quite a few, but I don't have all of them. That's for sure. Love Blue Underground. They're one of my favorite releasing companies, and I believe Shriek Show, they also released a few other. I think Demonia and Voices from Beyond is another couple other Lucio Fulci ones they did. And Enigma, I think Shriek Show did that. That might have been Anchor Bay. I can't remember. But Blue Underground doesn't have one, which makes me sad because that's what most of my Lucio Fulci stuff, my Dario Argento stuff is on. Most of my Italian horror, my Grindhouse type stuff. Grindhouse releases some really nice DVDs. But anyway, so that is Zombie 2. That's how I'm gonna label it in the on the title, because to me that's the true title to this movie is Zombie 2. And like I said, this is the American. That's what it was released to in the Americas. It was also released as Zombie Flesh Eaters as well. I forgot to mention that. That was another title from this. I think some versions of it actually still, the title pops up as Zombie Flesh Eaters, which I think is really cool. And there's actually another movie, this is the Zombie Pack. I have the Zombie Pack Volume 2, which has 3 other zombie movies on it. And it has a movie just called Flesh Eaters on it. I think it's on that one. I have that movie. I'm almost positive it's there. But it's got Flesh Eaters, which is different. It's a different zombie film. But still a good one. I really enjoy the old school, Italian zombie films. They're probably my favorite zombie movies. I don't know if it's just because they're so cheesy or what, but they're a lot of fun. Little kind of silly acting, but great story behind it. And I love Lucio Fulci, of course. He makes a great zombie movie. But anyway, highly recommend this. Check this one out, and I guess stay tuned for the next video. Goodbye.